another day to yap about NIKKE, our favorite gacha game. Hello degenerates, welcome back to the Waifus. I'm Sefhi, your favorite gambling addict, and today's topic is actually gonna be related to the solo raid. So solo raid just finished. I'm gonna go a little bit over how Iron is right now in terms of meta, what characters are actually really good to be using in raids, even though we can consider them niche or not really that useful outside of solo raids, and a TLDR on how the current raid has played out. Now, for those of you who don't know, the top 50, right? The top 50 are always tracked on this website right here, NIKKE.app. Really, really good website. Shout out to whoever is making it, as usual. Okay, fantastic tool. So you can just come here, check the teams of the top 50 on all servers, the parses, a little bit of the teams people are using, and the most important thing, in my opinion, the current usage for that season. And you can check, okay, Crown has a 100% usage across the top 50 on all servers, what characters have been used, and you can more or less see what the trend is. Now, it's important also to understand that just because some characters have 0%, like Tia, like even a small white, like characters, I don't know, who, Frima even, right? Or Novel if you want to call. They can't be used. We're talking about the top 50 on each server, which the majority of times are wells, right? The majority of times is going to be big wells. So we're going to be talking a little bit about what's going on with this. We're going to be making what we love the most, which is categorizing characters on a tier list. Guys, I like tier lists, okay? I think it's fun putting characters on tiers and talking shit about them. That's it. Let's talk a little bit about this as usual. You guys can leave a like, subscribe, and make it on the channel. We're going to be going over all of the Iron units, not only based on this, but also a little bit on, in my opinion, which ones are actually good filler and copium characters you can still run. Like, you can still run them if you have nothing else. So, let's jump direct into this. Let's go into the main menu so we don't have this solo raid beeping sound in the background constantly, okay? My god, Bay looks fine, bro. That background is so good, and that treasure, it's so bad, sadly. That's it, enough jumping. Let's actually jump directly into this. I was waiting for the car to open. I still like a couple hours. I woke up too early, so I was like, all right, time to jump about Iron units in NIKKE and which ones, in my opinion, are worth actually grabbing. I'm gonna be going one by one on all the characters, and we'll talk a little bit about them. So there are a lot of characters from the skip tier, as usual, that we don't have to go in depth as to why they are not useful characters for PvE and solo raids. Like, for example, if we're talking about Jackal, it's a PvP character. Her usage in PvE, it's non-existent. She's never been used. Now, what type of characters I want to put in Copium? It's characters like, for example, Novel. Characters that have seen usage. Characters that still are not, you know, okay, they are bad, but the kit is usable, right? It's just that the numbers, in contrast to any new buffer, is just not there, right? Obviously. Novel is one of my favorite B2s. I've always said it. If she gets a gacha skin, I would have no problem buying it. And I would have no problem investing in her if she gets a treasure either. I like her a lot. I use her early on in the game. I think she's cute. And I think she's an underrated waifu. But she is a Copium character, right? Her kit, again, like I was saying earlier, you could cope a little bit with the damage taken. The biggest problem she has is that you need full stacks on cornucopia, and that is only for 5 seconds. So it's not the full duration of full burst, and it's only one enemy, which for bossing, it's fine. But it's funny. This is one of the best damage takens in the game, if I remember correctly, no? Or amongst, at least, has to be top 3, top 4 characters with damage taken. I don't know at level 10 how much it actually goes to. I do not remember, but we can really quickly check it on the burst. It goes to 67 at level 10, which is crazy. I think the biggest problem is that it's 5 seconds, like I was saying, and that you need full stacks on cornucopia, which most people, you know, it's really hard to time and properly get it. Some people have been using her, again, only on Iron Raid content, when they can run her on the Snow White team, depending on the investment and what they have. But still, it's a Copium character, nothing else. Another Copium character we can talk about is going to be Tia. Tia has become one of those characters that, on release, was fantastic. And she got plenty of usage up until, what, the last 4, 5, maybe 6 months, whatever it was, right? Pretty good character, nice boobs, But sadly, when it comes to Tia Naga, she was the one with the biggest fallout. Even Naga, by today's standards, is not that popular. Naga, most of you haven't used it in a while. If you have, again, the whole roster, we are assuming you have the whole roster, okay? When we categorize characters like this, it's a lot of assumptions. That's what I always say, that it doesn't matter if a character is Copium, you can still use them. But that's the first three girls, we can put them there. Another Copium character, she has good heals, but she provides nothing else outside the revive. It's Rapunzel. I do like Rapunzel, mine is invested, I use her on my day one team. I was running a Scarlet, Litter, Rapunzel, Senti, and then a filler character as my second B3, which used to be Private until I got Laplace, and then she was my main B3 for a while. But by today's standards, more of a Copium character slash filler than anything else. Now, a funny one that is actually a filler unit if you don't have the full roster or you are missing specific characters is running Chime on your Crown team. This depends on team compositions, and specifically for this boss is not as good. I did a mock because, for those of you who don't know, my Chime is invested and I am re-rolling my Crown to actually go get some decent elemental attack. But it was not a good run. My Siren was doing almost the same damage as my Crown with Chime. So this is not a great boss to be running it, but it is an option, it is a filler. Now, I am not even going to put her on Copium because there is nothing to cope about. Solene is not a great unit. I know we have a JP bro that is always asking for her and to get the buff, but she's not a good character. If you have her fully invested, yes, sure, you can use her, but it's not gonna be great, okay? I think Solene is a character that if they make a treasure, it's really easy to make it good. Like, it's really easy to make it good, because you only need to make sure a skill 2 is providing an extra buff or 2, and same for skill 1. If those two have more modern, up-to-date buffs and you know, attack damage, maybe some damage taken, maybe she's just changing the requisites for the skills, she could actually become a really strong DPS for iron content. But at the moment, no chance, okay? No chance. Another character I'm going to be putting on actually filler is going to be Frima. Now, 0% usage. 0%, but for example, Kusanagi was using her, and she actually can do pretty well if you put her on the Chisato Takina team, on the true damage team, she can do well. But it's more of a filler than anything else, right? For people who had her invested from the initial batch of treasures and want to use her rather than something most players will be able to use. Now we go into Eve, and Eve is going to be going directly to use them. I know some people might say she's good, but the reality is that debuffers that can also do really well on element will always be strong characters for raids. For raids specifically, for iron, Eve is a fantastic character. Not only she has good personal damage, not only she has one of the best assets in the game, but thanks to the damage taken and everything else, she is, like I was saying, a character that will be a staple on most iron weak raids moving forward. And the same can apply to Helm Aquamarine. I can put it already here if you guys want. These are two characters that you have to use on this type of raids. It's like if we're talking about electric raids. Even if Sameranis and Maiden are not hyper carries, they will always get usage thanks to being buffers, right? So those two are characters you have to use, in my opinion. They are fantastic for this type of content. Then we can go into Lapchan. In this case, we could even put her on use them because this boss obviously was true damage, right? So for this boss specifically, it was a really good one. My reason to not put her on use them is because even though she's good on this team, because we have now Takina and we have Chisato to take advantage of it, it depends on the boss, right? And even depending on the boss, she's still not the main damage dealer. Your Chisato is gonna be doing better. This boss had parts, this boss had the true damage mechanic, and Laplace had everything on her favor. So a good character, a good treasure, but I wouldn't put her as a mandatory character. Another mandatory character, however, is going to be Aid Bunny, or Agent Bunny. Aid is one of the best B2s in the game overall. And still, for Iron, obviously, is going to be a fantastic one. There is so many characters that can take advantage of the Pierce, and even if you don't have Pierce units, it doesn't matter, because you still are getting 55% attack damage on the burst. That already is better. Like, that's a 55% attack damage is fantastic already. And she's giving even more buffs as long as you can keep stacking your minimum effective range, which depends on the boss, obviously, right? But still, that 55% makes it so you can use her on any team composition, and the fan service is 10 out of 10. So as you can see, a lot of buffers that I'm going to be putting on the use them category. Now, some controversy maybe. Good. I'm not putting her on use them. I think Red Hood is still one of the best Iron girls overall, because she can feel different roles. She can feel that the main damage dealer, well, okay, I don't think she's a main damage dealer at the moment. At least for this raid, she wasn't a main damage dealer, but she can feel that role of still buffing your main damage dealer as a B1. In fact, if you go into the top 3 teams, or the top 3 ranks for this raid, the guys doing the most damage in the game, right? Neither of these 3 guys actually use Red Hood on any of their teams. Like on any of their teams. Hopefully it loads soon, but as you can see, they didn't use Red Hood at all. Neither these top 3 guys. And if you look at the top 50, a lot of people are not even using her. Now, she's not the bad character at all, okay? I'm not saying she's a bad unit. I'm saying she's no longer the meta character you need to have on your teams. You are a brick if you don't have her. No, not at all. On the same category, I'm gonna be putting Milk Blooming Bunny. The biggest downside, as you all know, is that you have to manual her, and people do not want to be manualing characters because we are lazy fuckers. Unless you are obviously a top ranker and you enjoy manualing, then it's fine. But for most people, that's her biggest downside, even though she's probably one of the best looking girls. My god, she looks fine, Milk. Another character that can go into the field category, it's Lavelle. It's an actually good B1 for elemental content. And if you are missing some of the newer, or sorry, some of the older release girls, she's actually a pretty good one to be using. You just need to focus on her skill 2, which is going to be damage taken from electric code enemies reduced. Also, giving herself some buffs, and also giving all allies 80% attack while she's on shared delusion status. So all in all, a pretty cheap character to build. Like, doesn't matter what she gets on the gear, just a skill 2, and you can use her as a B1 for raids. So it's a nice filler unit, I will say. Now, to nobody's surprise, Crown will be going into the use them category. I don't think we have to explain anything about Crown. Best B2 in the game by far. My god, she's still the best B2 in the game by far. I think the only thing that comes close is going to be Nayuta, and there are the differences. There is still so many differences between both of them. Now, to not be here for 30 minutes in this video, let's actually put all of the skip girls directly, so we can go and save some time, okay? These are the units you don't see, you haven't seen since they were released. They've gotten no usage. Mika is one of them. Let's not cope with Senti, okay? Both her base version and her treasure. Base Frima never saw any use at all. There are a couple more characters we could be putting in here. But I think for a skip, that's one of them. I'm also going to be putting Rupee. You could say Rupee is also Copium, just like Novel, and I am biased. And you would be absolutely right. I am biased. I like Novel more than I like Rupee. That's it. That's the skip character, okay? Let's go into the rest of them so we can go one by one. Marciana is a Copium character. It's a nice B2. It's a fantastic healer. As a healer, she's one of the best ones we currently have because she does her job really well. 655, what a shit investment. Her storage functionality is fantastic. Her heals are great. She will keep your whole team alive. But no offensive buffs means, for the most part, you don't need to use her. Julia Treasure, even though had almost no usage at all. If you guys saw Julia... What is Julia? Here, 0.3% usage. This is only, like I was saying, for the top 50. Okay, there are people who were using her, and I think she's a nice filler character, just like Frima, if you did build her. I will say on this boss specifically, because it was true damage, Laplace had obviously a higher value, but on a normal boss, both of them are going to be doing pretty similar damage. I'm going to be putting Chisato into the good category. You do not need to use her again. This boss is true damage. So obviously you still need these characters to be placing well, and she got like what, an 80% or whatever it was, an 81% usage. But I'm gonna be putting the use them characters as the best buffers for the most part, and those that are actually important, right? Takina goes into the same place. Now, only for this raid, I think Takena is still a filler character. I think she's not a unit that I will say you need to pull for. There are literally few DPSs you can't use with her. Like if we talk about true damage, it's not that many. Because unless you can use her with your bestie, with your Ain, or with your Chisato, you are not gonna see her, or with your Lapras on this team, right? That's it, nothing else. So even though she was good for this raid, realistically speaking, being honest, she's more of a filler character, because both your Chisato and your Lapras can still perform well regardless of true damage or not. Lapras a little bit less probably. Then we can keep going for the other girls. Soda is just like Red Hood and Milk, one of the best V3s you can be using for this type of raid, and most people still have their shotgun teams invested. Like most people have their Dove invested, most people will have either a Grave invested when she came out, or a Leona, or anything you can use in there, and your Dorothy Serendipity from last summer, because she's one of the best V3s in the game. So the shotgun teams are staples, and they will remain being a staple for a long ass time. So one of the best V3s for this raid, I wouldn't say is a mandatory character. Once again, in here I'm reserving it for like those actual units you have to invest for, and they will always be evergreen, at least for at least one more year for sure, right? For sure. And then the rest. Then we have Small White. Small White is a Copium character. Obviously her damage is not good, it's not great, but for new players who got her for free, or sorry, for players who got her for free back in the day and they don't have the full rosters, free-to-play and casuals, she can be used as a basic DPS, and she works, okay? And she's pretty cute as well. So, a Copium character. Now, Snow White is still, even though people were saying initially that Pierce or that she was not going to be good on this boss specifically, she's still, what? Even a higher percentage, or pretty close, 77% on most people using her here, right? Fantastic DPS. I never invested in her. I am not gonna be investing in her. I am not a fan of OG Snow White. She has something I don't like. I don't know what it is. The new one looks a lot better. Nice belly, nice legs. I think it's just the fan service that I don't like OG Snow White for. Then we have Raven, another character that could almost be a mandatory character to be using here on this raid, but I'm going to be putting most of these DPSs here. All of the good DPSs you can use in there, right? Raven, just like Eve, really good units, and in this case, you could be using her with your mates or anything, any other team. People were even using her on the same team as Red Hood, or some people with Chisato, and she's been doing fantastic. Now, Litter, since she has CDR, and she has good buffs on this raid, she had one of the highest percentages, right? 99. And obviously moving forward, she will still remain one of those B1s you always use, because elemental advantage keeps playing a bigger and bigger role in this game. So as long as they don't change that, as long as Shift Up keeps moving into the elemental direction, Litter will remain high priority character for Iron Week content. Outside of Iron Week though, she's losing a lot of usage. Maxwell can go into either the filler or the good category. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Maxwell, 38% usage. I do think she's more than usable. Like, you can use her, but the problem is that most people had her invested from day one. I wouldn't say new players have to worry about the DPS Maxwell. New players, if they invest into her, is going to be as a buffer rather than a DPS itself, right? Just for this skill 1 with the charge speed and attack, rather than going all in into her. If you have her invested, however, she's a good DPS and you can use her, but I'm going to be leaning more towards the filler category, because it depends on your account investment. Now, as much as I like Sugar, and I did use Sugar on my own teams, I'm going to put it on Copium. And I'm stretching the Copium definition quite a bit right here, honestly. Sugar is not a good character. Mine has good rolls on her gear. That's what I use her instead of Bunny Soda. But she's not a good character. She's one of those characters like Solene that if they make a treasure, it would be so easy to make it a good treasure. Like 20% chance of casting when cover is under attack. Who thought that was a great idea? Now, to be fair, this is a day 1 character, so they didn't know what they were doing. But still, it's an awful skill. But if they make a treasure for her, she could become one of the staple girls for Iron, no problem. At the moment, she's nothing, either a Copium or a skip. And I'm, again, stretching the definition. Rapunzel, Pure Grace is a Copium character. So one of the good things about Pure Grace is that you need to manual, which is the bad thing, but the good thing about Rapunzel is that she's actually giving attack damage on burst. And attack damage is always great. Now, I'm leaning more towards Skip than even Copium because nowadays we have a lot of B1s and B2s that actually give a lot of attack damage on burst, and you don't need to worry too much. So I'm gonna lean a little bit more towards Skip rather than Copium, and I might even move her down one tier on the tier list because when she came out, we had way less filler characters, but at the moment, yeah, not so much. Now, base Laplace and base Julia are both not good units. Let's not pretend they are. And obviously, the last character we're going to be categorizing in here is Rapid Red Hood, which is the only B3 as a DPS that I'm going to be putting on the highest category. Eve is here as a debuffer utility character sub DPS, but Rapid Red Hood obviously is still the best B3 in the game. We're talking about the character that can act as a B3 and as a B1, a character that can act in 2 different elements, and a character that, thank you to being an over spec, can be used in 2 different towers. Also, this skin is 10 out of 10, so we have to put her there. So that said, that would be probably a little bit my opinion on the current iron meta and how they are, not related to the tier list, okay? This is purely for raids. Specifically for raids, how are the iron girls looking like? And that's what I would put them probably at the moment. That said, that's enough ranting. This video is probably longer than what it should have been already, because there is way too many iron girls to be japping about. I'll probably make one of these videos after every raid season, talking about whatever element currently we have and how it's looking and what it's lacking. You guys let me know how you're feeling currently about iron and which girls you want to get a treasure on in here. That's it. Enough ranting, enough japping. We're live every single day. Links in the description down below. Good luck with your pool dinner rates, and I'll see you on the next one.